Right now, above your head, a satellite is photographing your city. Not your house specifically, but your street, your neighborhood, the parking lot of the store you shop at every week, the port that imported the shirt you're wearing right now, the farm fields that grew the food sitting in your fridge. That image will be processed by an AI within hours, sold to a hedge fund by morning, used to estimate how many people walked through a competitor's doors before that company reports a single number to the public. The investors who bought that data will trade on it before you ever see the headline. You were never asked. You will never know. And that's not an accident. This is the satellite economy in 2026. Not science fiction, not a theory, operating right now, at scale, for profit. And most people have no idea it exists. Let's go back to where this actually started. In 2010, getting anything into low Earth orbit cost roughly $50,000 per kilogram. A satellite the size of a shoebox, just the launch, $500,000. Space was financially closed to everyone except governments and defense contractors with billion-dollar budgets. Then one company changed the entire math. They started landing their rocket boosters back on Earth after launch, flying the same hardware 15, 20, 30 times. The cost per kilogram fell 90% in 15 years. 90%. By 2026, you can put a 50-kilogram satellite into orbit for roughly $350,000. That is not cheap, but it is the price of an apartment in most major cities. A funded startup can do this. A research institution can do this. A government ministry with a modest budget can do this. The door to space opened, and through that door walked an enormous amount of money. The satellite is not the product. The data is the product. A satellite that photographs the Earth does not make money selling photographs. It makes money answering questions that the right people will pay serious amounts to answer. How many cars are parked outside a competitor's warehouse right now? Are the shipping containers at that port moving or sitting? Is that harvest in that agricultural region going to misestimate this season? Is that government building something it told the world it wasn't building? These questions are worth billions. The satellite is just the infrastructure for answering them. One company alone operates more than 500 satellites and photographs the entire land surface of the Earth every single day. Every surface, every day. The data goes out under multi-year contracts to governments and corporations. Most recent annual revenue, over $220 million, growing every quarter. This is the Earth observation market, worth roughly $7 billion in 2025. Projected to nearly double by 2034, driven almost entirely by the explosion in demand for real-time data from governments, hedge funds, insurance companies, and militaries. The satellite above your head is not watching you. It is watching everything, all the time, and selling the pattern. Now the hidden structure that almost nobody outside the industry understands. There are parking spots in space, specifically in geostationary orbit, the ring of positions 36,000 kilometers above the equator, where a satellite moves at exactly the same speed the Earth rotates. It appears motionless, permanently hovering over one fixed point on the ground. These positions are managed by an international body. A country or company files a claim, goes through a coordination process, and, if approved, occupies that slot. The positions directly above the most commercially valuable ground on the planet are nearly full. You cannot move into a taken position. You cannot go around the system. The physics is the physics. The legal framework is decades old and shows no signs of changing. A company or country that secured a geostationary slot 20 years ago holds an asset that simply cannot be replicated by someone starting today. The orbital position is the real estate. The satellite sitting in it is the building. The most expensive real estate in the modern world is not on Earth. Now the number that makes 2026 a specific moment in this story. More than 60% of all active satellites currently in orbit belong to one company. One, SpaceX. Its Starlink constellation, over 10,000 satellites at last count, provides broadband internet to more than 10 million subscribers across more than 125 countries. Starlink alone generated over $11 billion in revenue in 2025, with more than $4 billion in operating income, the fastest growing division of any private company in the world right now. The parent company posted total revenue of roughly $18.5 billion in 2025. It is still investing aggressively in rockets, in AI infrastructure, in spectrum acquisition, which means the net picture is more complicated than a single profit number. What is not complicated, the Starlink business itself is one of the most profitable connectivity operations ever built, and it is still in early growth. And here is the part that will move financial markets this year. The company is reportedly targeting an initial public offering in mid-2026 at a valuation between $1.75 and $2 trillion. If that number holds, it would be the largest public market debut in the history of financial markets. More than any company that has ever listed, ever.
The company that controls more than 60% of all operational satellites in orbit, the most profitable launch business in the world, and the broadband network connecting 10 million subscribers across the globe, is about to become a stock you can buy. That is the headline event in the satellite economy in 2026. Now the development that will change your phone within the next 2 years. For decades, if your phone lost cell coverage, that was it. You waited until you found a tower. Satellites existed in their own layer, phones existed in their own layer. The two systems didn't talk. That is ending. Direct-to-cell satellite technology allows standard smartphones, not special hardware, not an expensive device, your existing phone, to connect directly to a satellite overhead when no tower is in range. A text message, an emergency alert, eventually voice, eventually data. Billions of dollars have been committed to acquiring the spectrum licenses to run this service. The satellites broadcasting direct-to-cell signals are already in orbit. The carrier partnerships are already signed. Within 2 years, the concept of being completely out of coverage, anywhere on land, at sea, in the air, becomes almost impossible to achieve, even deliberately. The last dead zone is being closed from 65,000 kilometers overhead. Now the economic problem that could unravel all of it. There are currently more than 40,000 tracked objects in low Earth orbit. Most are debris, dead satellites, spent rocket stages, fragments from collisions that happened years ago. Every object is traveling at approximately 27,000 kilometers per hour. At that velocity, a fragment the size of a marble hits with enough force to punch through a satellite hull and creates thousands of new fragments in the process. Those fragments increase collision risk. More collisions create more debris. The cascade becomes self-sustaining. In 2025 alone, Starlink's constellation performed roughly 300,000 collision avoidance maneuvers. That is nearly 1 every 2 minutes, around the clock, for an entire year. And the rate is accelerating. Estimates suggest close to 1 million maneuvers annually by 2027 if growth continues at this pace. There is a model, developed by an astrophysicist in 1976, that describes what happens when this cascade becomes impossible to stop. The debris multiplies faster than anything can clear it. Launching replacements into those bands becomes impossible. The satellites already up there, the ones running GPS, weather systems, financial data networks, global communications, begin failing with no replacement possible. Not for years, potentially for generations. The satellite economy is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It is attracting more capital every year. It is building the infrastructure that the next century will run on.
And it is filling its own operating environment with the byproduct of its growth. Every satellite, every constellation, every subscription, every data contract depends entirely on the orbit remaining usable. That is the hidden risk that investors, operators, and regulators are all looking at and not yet adequately pricing into anything. So why does any of this matter to you specifically? The broadband reaching a remote area, the weather forecast built on satellite imagery, the food pricing that uses daily overhead scans of farm fields, the shipping routes tracked from space, the financial trades executed on satellite intelligence before you read the news, the phone signal you will have anywhere on Earth within 2 years. The satellite economy is not something you observe from a distance. It is already infrastructure. It is already inside your daily life at more points than most people have stopped to think about. The question of who owns that infrastructure, what it costs to enter it, who controls the orbital positions, what it produces, and whether the debris problem gets solved before it becomes irreversible, is not a technical question. It is an economic and political question. A question about control. Control of the most important real estate in the modern world. Real estate that nobody can see, but that everybody, every single day, is already using.